This is NBC this morning. It's Monday morning, the 6th of November. And they're telling about the shooting at the church, First Baptist Church. And I didn't need the name of the man. He's 26 years old. That's dead. That was programmed to go into the church and do the shootings, and he was shot dead. And they got the perfect. I'm going to turn it around. I'm going to show some things in a minute. They got the perfect weapon in mind control, and that's exactly what this has been. Most of them that your media, for whatever their reason, has told about over the last years has to do with mind control and programming. So I am going to be redundant here because I put this up, oh gosh, since 2012 on YouTube and Facebook, at least on Facebook, and then 2013 on YouTube. So I've put it up. And I'm going to again show you just a little, and I'm not going to tell you why the media control Rockefellers, Rothschilds, Kennedy clan, JFK's, Joe Kennedy, the Kennedys. And part of well, they're not really the royal family, which is Elizabeth and her brood, who are war criminals, and her father was a war criminal, the illegal George VI. So I'm just going to tell you I was doing a book, medical malpractice book, in Cobb County, Georgia, Marietta, 1976, when Larry Flint of Hustler magazine was shot. And he's paralyzed. His attorney was killed, and the judge in it had a lot of damage done to him. Now, I was on a campaign later, and I'm not going to go into all this. I've put it up, its background on it. I was in a campaign. He flew me out there and said I knew who was responsible for his shooting. Larry McDonald was one of them. Now, I was telling about I'd worked for doctors, and I found out that one of the doctors I worked for, and he knew I was doing this book. I was even Xeroxing it in there, so they knew I was doing it. He was cardiovascular, and anyway, I found out that he was head of a corporation there, a big one, and that the doctor had operated on, and he put a chip in a heart bypass. And when you do that, you can control their decision making. You can make them do anything. They're puppets. And that's exactly what this is. Only you can put it in root canals. And why these so-called experts are being interviewed by the media who have covered up all these years, and Trump's absolutely right. They've deleted the news. It is so sick and covered up. But anyway, I forget where I'm sick from the mold mildew and the air conditioning. I can hardly talk or hear this morning. Anyway, I wrote the book and I was flown out to Mr. Flint's. He furnished me a car for a year, and then I could never get back with him. And I wandered around on the side of the road almost. I was just shut down. And I ended up in Roanoke. And that's later, I tried to get the book published and couldn't. I was almost killed. Got a letter from the FBI, June the 23rd of 79, ongoing investigation, national security involved. So now then, the murders I told about were deliberately done in patterns. And I was taken some years ago I went into the office myself in Bedford County next door here. And they sit me down in a long hallway there. And there was nothing else in there that I can remember. And behind me, they set me in a little bench thing, was a bigger than that, about 2 times that size. Big, that doesn't show how big that is. But there's all kind of murders in there, and little chips on the FBI list, I believe is what it was. And I knew nothing about any of them. I've told you the truth, and at this point, I'm not sorry I did it. I did it because a great part because I cared. And then there's another thing that what was done to me. And I'm not going to put that up now because people just, not many care. But so that I don't sound rambling because I'm pretty sick. I couldn't even talk when I got up or anything. Um, I'm just going to cut to the chase and tell you this. Timothy McVeigh was in the military, and he told everybody that the Army put a chip in him. Uh, a chip, does that say chip? Well, no. Planted a computer chip, yeah. It says computer chip. So I'm taking up a lot of time here. Up his buttocks. Now this was given to me by a church here, and they said that when they gave it to me that I was telling, this is part of what I was telling about back then. It's implantable biochips, and it's either by Tex Mars or Jim Mars, I can't remember. And it's, well, it said they chipped William. Now, there's a story behind this. In case he was kidnapped, what a joke. But anyway, Project Lucid's the name of the book, and it's the Illuminati that I was writing about, the Rothschilds, Bilderbergers, Kennedys, the Kennedy clan, JFK. Martin Luther King and JFK were shot by programmed shooters. James Earl Ray that shot Martin Luther King was programmed, and Oswald was programmed to shoot John Kennedy. But I told this a long time ago. And anyway, here they're talking about the global government and having everybody be chipped, or they couldn't buy or sell. So it's talking about the end of time, which I don't know, but it sure seems that way. Now, I'm not going to go any further. I'm just going to tell you that these were done in patterns that I told about, and there's a list of them. I'm going to go ahead and tell this one that Mark Kelly married Congressman Gabby Gifford, from Tucson, Arizona. She was shot some years back by a program shooter, and I believe about 12 other people who were there when she was shot. He was a program shooter. Now, Mark Kelly is a twin to Scott Kelly, and they're astronauts, and that's all I'm going to say about that. But if you ever hear it put up, you'll understand it. But I knew when this happened that this was a program shooter. And it'll keep going on till the media tells the truth, or it all comes to some kind of, the global government's already in power. It's the United Nations is their front. That's who it really is. So now then, I'm going to say this. It's, again, mental illness has nothing to do with mind control. And the sad part is that these people that are shown on TV, San Bernardino, back to Columbine, way on back to the Texas Tower shooting, and before then, I had a list. I just didn't know how it was done back then. Mind control was done. They put chips in heart bypasses. They put chips in any part of your body. But mainly, they were chipping a long time ago, before 62, putting chips in root canals. Okay? How would you know? The gentleman Paddock that did the shootings in Las Vegas is one of them that was chipped. And they did an autopsy on his brain to see if it was abnormal, trying to pin it on mental illness, as they've done all of them. Well, they didn't find it. They should have done an autopsy on his root canals or the rest of his body to find the chip, as in they should have done all the rest of them. So I'm not going to go into anything else other than say this recent one at the church was the man was under mind control. They said in this one that he was in the Air Force and dishonorable discharge. The chip wasn't just put in him yesterday, so in the programming began, so he could come and do this church, the killings in the church. Would have started a long time ago and caused his irrational reactions by what he did to his wife and children and had the dishonorable discharge. So, the other one I want to mention, there's a list and it would shock you. And only then, this is what an FBI agent told me. He said he yawned and pretended he was bored. Said, what you're telling them bores them. It's only when they find out how it affects them that they care. Uh, I do want to go back to James Holmes of the Grand Theater shootings. There was so much synchronicity in that. It's unbelievable. The Virginia Tech next door to me, the 33, where the shooter turned around and shot himself, he was programmed to, just like the young man in the Sandy Hook shooting. He shot his mom. Can you understand that these people were chipped? They would not have done this under normal circumstances or any circumstances. Their willpower or even knowing about that they were programmed was removed from them. It was in the hand. They're puppeteers. Okay, and what can I say? The media has known this, and it's who it connects it to that the media won't tell it. What was done to me, and that the fact that the Illuminati are the ones doing it. The Zuckerman's talking about fake news and Obama. Suddenly, about a year ago, they started talking about it. Fake news is what they did to my father and mother, and then me and my sons when they brought us over here. So I told about Scott Kelly, and I was going to tell about the Grand Theater, James Holmes. Aurora, Colorado. He is in, I don't know if he's still there, in a mental hospital. He's being given psychotic drugs. I guess his diagnosis would be paranoid schizophrenic. And once a doctor pins that on you, it can be because they want to have you killed. It's diagnosis murder. You can't get another doctor to go up against them. It's a buddy system. The shocking in this, if it's ever made, it has to go on network television or it won't get told, and it's controlled by the Rockefellers. So there you go. They talk about God, it'd probably take his intervention to tell it. So I'm rambling this morning, so I'm going to get off, but I think you got the message of it. And like I say, if it's ever told, you're going to be shocked at some people that were murdered using mind control. And yeah, they can be proven. It may be invisible, the perfect weapon, they can mass armies with it now. So I do want to mention this. Susan Smith was a mother years ago, and this is one of the mind control murders. She drove her car into the pond or creek, river, and drowned them. She's in prison, and I guess they try to blame it on mental illness, which is a total lie. And then there was Russell Yates' wife, Andrea Yates. This was back in 2001, I believe. Yeah. And she drowned her 3 kids in Houston, Texas. And that was one where the mother was programmed. She was later put in the mental hospital. And when you do this, you have to deprogram, stop the programming of a person. To give them psychotic drugs is like doing it to a cancer patient. It would be destructive. It certainly wouldn't help. And psychotic drugs are bad enough, but given to someone who's a victim of mind control and not mental illness is the most irresponsible, sickest. It's a murder weapon. So where have all your doctors and psychiatrists? And one was interviewed last night, I heard on Coast to Coast, I believe it was, and he didn't say a friggin' word about it. And by the way, the Fort Hood shooter, he was a psychiatrist. And that was November the 5th of '09 that he shot and killed people out at Fort Hood, Texas, Army base. Whether he's under for the death penalty, I don't know. He was born here in Roanoke County, in Vinton, right here where I'm at. And he went to school at Virginia Tech, and he got a degree, went somewhere else and got his psychiatry degree. degree in psychiatry. But this is a psychiatrist that did the shooting, and he's programmed, he's the puppet. And he was found guilty, and I think on death row. Anyway, he went to Virginia Tech next door here in Blacksburg, and that's where the Virginia Tech 33 was shot by another student from South Korea, and he turned around and shot himself. And I could go on and on. I put this up on YouTube, Facebook. I've been to D.C. That would be a really good thing if you could follow my trail and show it just how sick the whole mess is. And you think John Kennedy's the good guy, and you think Martin Luther King is a good person. I hope this whole thing unravels and you have to watch it and feel it, the pain that other people felt because they failed to do their duty and tell the truth. I don't get paid for this. In fact, I'm kept a pauper and can barely live from day to day.